Hey there, everybody. How y'all doing? This is Sean Miller, Hipster Viz Ninja, and we are live this morning, coming back from Kansas City after Data 24 Tableau conference. It was a great week. Had an amazing week. One of those things that we did, one of the last sessions of the day on Wednesday of the conference was Workout Wednesday 2024. So this is going to be a recap of that session of that challenge, and this is what I do every single week. So if you're new here, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching. But yeah, we're going to go from data to dashboard. We've got 60 minutes. Let's see how far we get. See if we can have some fun. So thank you so much for tuning in. Let's get right into it. All right, so let me pull up let me make sure I've got the challenge here pulled up so we can take a look at it together. Here we go. Bingo. And there it is. I feel like going to hex. My little hex face today. So because I can either switch it, I can go hex or I can go circle. So I feel like going hex today. So all right, so Workout Wednesday. Let's look at it. Let's look at our challenge here. We're doing a survey, sleep survey, Mary-Mecco chart. Right? So let's open this in split view so that we can see what we're trying to build here. There we go. So we've got a Mary-Mecco chart that shows the number of hours people declared that they slept every night. So four or less, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 or more. And then for the number of hours that folks said that they slept, they also recorded how well they feel rested the next day. So you can see here, as you get more sleep, you feel more rested every day, right? Except, the people who sleep, as the number of hours go up, the number of people who say they never wake up feeling well rested declines, except for if you get 10 or more, right? And I think that's just because our bodies are not meant to sleep for more than for 10 or more hours, I think. So 7 to 8, I think, is the as you can see here, obviously, is the recommendation. And apparently, as you can just see, I need more sleep. So I am definitely still getting back into the swing of things after Tableau conference. It was a great week. So this is what we're going to build. So let's go. Let's dive into Tableau Public because why not? So that was one of the newer features that was talked about at conference, was being able to locally save on Tableau Public now. So you don't have to always. I think it is an amazing feature. Very much needed in the community. So now you can open Tableau Public on your local device, and you can save workbooks locally before publishing them up, or never publishing. I think that's an amazing thing too. Is now you have an ability to use Tableau on flat files, and you never really have to publish it. So the ability to have private data, personal data that you don't want necessarily out there in Tableau Public, now you have that option. So anyway, let's talk about it. So we've got a data set of about 26,000 respondents, and you can see here multiple different multiple different dimensions, as well as how many hours of sleep they get per night. So this is a survey response, and they said, how many hours of sleep do you get each night? And they said 7. They said, okay, so how many days do you wake up feel rested? Some days. How many days do you have trouble falling asleep? Some days. How many days do you have trouble staying asleep? Some days. And how much do you take how often do you take medicine for sleep? Never. For that one record, right? So that's what we've got here. So that's kind of the scope of the data there. So we'll go here. Get rid of show me because we don't need that. We know what we're doing. So the very first thing that we need to do, this sleep dimension, this sleep hours. Yeah, that's right, Zach. We need sleep. So we have So this first sleep hours, it's a measure because it's coming in as numerical value. We don't need it as a measure. It's actually going to be a dimension, so I'll just drag that up there. Now, if we look at this, you can see we've got a lot of different members. So the thing that we need to do first is we need to group this, right? So let's do a group. We'll call it sleep bin. We'll take 4 or less and group those. And we'll take 10 or more and we'll group those. We'll call this 10 plus. We'll do this and we'll call this 4 or fewer. Click OK. Drag that out to our rows. Make sure it's, and then we'll just make sure, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do default properties, and I'm going to do sort, and I'm going to do manual sort, and I'm just going to lock that in, right? So it will, by default, it's always going to be sorted in this order. So no matter what we try and, no matter how we kind of set this up, it's always going to be sorted in this manner. So the next thing that we need to do is also wake up, feel rested. That's the dimension that we're going to be using here. So I'm going to set the default sort values for this as well. Now, if we look at our screenshot, you can see that never is at the top, and then some, and then most, and then every. So you can see here we need to flip this around. So we'll do every day down here, and then some days, most days, we'll flip that, right? So that's how we're going to sort this one as well. And then we'll take that dimension and we'll drag it out here. Now we'll have the, what we'll do here is, we have, this is the number of responses for each intersection of these two dimensions. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to calculate the number of people who responded per hour of sleep. Right, so anytime you hear somebody talk about, or anytime you hear a measure definition where they say something per something, that's generally going to mean a fixed level of detail, or basically at a higher level of aggregation than what the data is at. So whenever you think about that, you'll need to do some sort of an aggregation. I'm going to do this. The way that I'm going to do this is I'm going to do this whole thing with table calculations, and then later on I'll show you how you can do it with level of detail expressions. So this is going to be this is the respondents per sleep bin under TC for table calculation. Okay, just like that. So we've got, what we're going to do is we're going to do the window sum of just our number of records, right? And then we'll do that. And then we'll bring this out and we'll make this text table with measure names and measure values. Now that's just the total number of respondents across the entire data source. That's not what we want to do. We need to edit this table calculation. And what we're going to do is, because, and this is a trick that I've been using for a long time, so I bestow it upon you. Whenever you're dealing with table calculations, you can certainly use the table down, the directional table down, pane down, across and down, all those different things. But what I would suggest doing is figuring out what that is. Like, we know that we want this pane down, right? But because we're not going to end, our final presentation is not a table with panes and all that kind of stuff. It's actually going to be on specific dimensions. So it's really interesting. If you ever want to learn more about how Tableau calculates table calculations, watch what's happening down here in this dithered area under specific dimensions here. As I click different options, these are changing, right? So I do sleep. If I do table down, you can see both are selected, and sleep bin is on top, and wake up or rested is on the bottom. If I go pane down, they switch the order, and sleep bin is no longer detected. Or yeah, sleep bin is no longer detected, right? So that's really kind of an interesting way to kind of understand how your table calculation is being calculated. But for the sake of this, where your final product is not a table or a crosstab, just go ahead and click specific dimensions. Now, the reason that we're going to select specific dimensions here is because when we switch this crosstab table over to our actual Marimekko chart, right? We won't have to remember, because if we do this and then we start dragging pills around and doing all this kind of stuff, what's going to happen is the definition of pane down or table down or pane across then down is going to completely change because of the way that we're setting up this sheet. So that's why I always like to set up specific dimensions rather than using pane down or across, pane or table direction. And then I'll select specific dimensions once I get my thing right, once I get the values right. So for this window sum, you can see here we've got 759. That answer, they get 4 or fewer, right? So this is essentially creating that kind of distribution of the number of hours slept. So regardless of that, regardless of the wake up or rested, these are just the total number of people that responded. They get 4 or fewer hours of sleep. Okay, so there's that. That's the first thing we need to do. Second thing we need to do is we need to create a percent of total. So if you look at a Marimekko chart, you can see here this is a percent of total because it's a percent of total, right? You can see that. And essentially what we have here on the x-axis is a variable width histogram, a variable width histogram, right? So we've got all of the things lined up just like a histogram would have. And then we're individually spacing. And then the width of the histogram bars show the denominator, right? Show the number of people within that denominator. So let's create this first part first, this percent of total here. And that's going to be really simple because we can just use a quick table calculation. So we'll go here. Quick table calculation, percent of total. So this is the number of records field that I'm using. And I'll just do quick table calculation, percent of total. Now, again, Tableau's trying to be smart here. And it's trying to, give us an idea of, hey, I think that you want this aggregated like this. But we don't. We want it a different way. So again, let's go into edit our table calculation. Let's do, we can do pane down again. So now every percentage within a pane equals 100%. But again, we don't want to leave it like that. We don't want to leave it with pane down. We want to do specific dimensions again. Just like that. Okay? So that's it. Like, that is literally all there is to creating this. Like, we've done that part. Right? So what we need to do now is we need to create the variable width. So what we're going to do is we're going to create another calculated field. And this is going to be the, I'll call this the histogram width. Now there's a couple different ways you can do this. There's several different table calculations you can use to do this. I think I'll keep this easy, right? So I will do running sum of the respondents per sleep bin. Click OK. Drag that out here. And then what I'll do is, again, edit. And then we know how this is going to go, right? It's going to be the exact same thing. It's going to be sleep bin. And, yep, just like that. Let's see. Actually, I need this a different way. because I need it this way, right? Oh yeah, that's not right. Let's get back. There we go, this way. Edit the table calculation. Histogram width is actually going to be this way. So if you look at this, so essentially let's look at this. Let's look at what's happening. So we have 759 and it stays that way. And then once we get to the next sleep bin, it adds this value to this one. And then that carries down. And then once we get here, it adds this value to this. And then it adds this value to that, and so on and so forth, right? So we end up with, at the very end, we end up with the total number of that. So now what we're going to do is, let's go ahead and start moving things around. Let's try and start building out this sheet. All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to take sleep bin and wake up well rested. We still need these because we're using table calculations. We still got to have these. We still have to have these in the view, right? So in the level of detail. So let's add those to the detail mark card. This is our table calculation. So it's going to go like that. Nope, not that one. This is our percent of total calculation. Things are looking a little weird right now, and that's okay. And then we have our histogram width, and that's going to go up here. Oop, there we go. Now again, it's a scatter plot. Why is it a scatter plot? Because we have two continuous measures on columns and rows, and we have a dimension on detail. And by default, Tableau, when it sees that, when it recognizes that, it's like, oh yeah, that's what you want. And it's not. That's not what we want. We actually want them to be bars. Right? So we can get rid of, I don't think we even need this one. So right now you can see we have, so every day, right? And this is the 4 fewer. It's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 or more. Every, most, some, never. Right? So we've got some bars here, but we need to fill in the space. Right? So the way that we're going to do that is we're going to click on the size button, and we're going to go fixed. We need to switch the alignment to right, and then we need to put something on size, and that's going to be our, and there it is. Right? So, 2 calculations to create a Marimekko chart. And then what we'll do is we'll take sleep bin, we'll take wake up well rested, and we will put it on color, edit our colors, blue teal, apply the palette, blue teal, apply the palette, just like that. Edit this, make borders to white, and there it is. Let's do, no, not entire view, right? So there you go. So again, how did we get that? Well, we started off here, right? And if we go back to this, and we remove, oh yeah, we need to automatic, there we go. So we've got bars, right? And we knew, if we go back to fixed here, I'll go back to manual for those, if that was too fast. So we created the histogram width, which was just a running sum of the respondents per sleep bin. We created a percent of total by wake up well rested. Then what we needed to do is add respondents per sleep bin to size. And now you can see their variable width, right? You can see that. You can see that, which is good. But now what we need to do is we need to flip the size from manual to fixed. Just like that, right? And then you can see here, like, the alignment actually really does matter here, right? Because if you do it this way, if you do it left or center, things don't all the way line up. But whenever you go right, everything lines up the way that it should. So we'll, like I said, we'll go here and we'll add white borders. And then we'll put wake up or rested on color. And there you have it. So that's how you build a Tableau. That's how you build a Marimekko chart in Tableau with table calculations. You want to see this with histogram width, edit, rename with table calcs. Here's how you're gonna do. Here's how you would do that with a level of detail expression. So the respondent. So we'll do sleep bin. We'll do wake up or rested. First thing we need to do is we need to have the respondents per sleep bin LOD, and that's going to be fixed sleep bin count of records. Put that out there. We have the exact same numbers, right? Then for the let's do, what would it be? This will be the yeah, this is the histogram width. And again, it's still going to be a, and then you would just use a running sum of that level of detail expression. Because you still need to, oh yeah, and I need to aggregate it. Just like that. So, yes, that is a level of detail expression inside of a table calc, right? And you can do that. Why can you do that? Anybody have any ideas? Why can you put a level of detail expression inside of a table calculation? Order of operations, right? Order of operations. Level of detail expressions happen at a higher level than table calculations. So level of detail expressions can be already computed, and then you put it inside of a table calculation. Can you ever put a table calculation inside of a level of detail expression? No, right? You cannot, because level of detail expressions happen up here. Table calculations happen up here. You can't move table calculations to a higher level of detail, right? You can't do that. So that's why it's like, that's why you can't ever do like a fixed rank or a you know, a fixed index, right? Or a fixed first or something like that, right? So just kind of keep that in mind. So there you go. So then we'll do that. And then we just need to make sure that our, so here's another little trick about, this, about editing your table calcs in Tableau, right? Using this UI. Which one do you uncheck? It doesn't make very much sense, but the way that you do this is the unchecked here is, or the one that, yeah, the one that's checked is the one that you are going to be restarting the table calculation. So you can see here that it does that, right? It keeps the same number and then it restarts because we have sleep been detected, right? So if I did this, so I'm disregarding, right? You can see that it's just adding up. It's just adding up everything, right? So if we look at this, so whenever I have the wrong one selected, right, it's adding up the running sum of the number of respondents within this partition, and then it starts over, right? Because we have wake up well rested as checked, so that's when your table calculation will start over. So if I do that, you can see that it's going to start over every first row. So that's kind of fun. And then you just switch everything around, just like you did, and you'll end up with this same thing right here. Now, you can see here, so we've got this pretty much done, right? It's pretty much there. It's all good. Now, you can see here we have multiple different things here, right? We have multiple dimensions here, right? So we could, if we wanted to, we could parameterize this, and we could have some really fun with it, right? We could have some really good fun with it. So we could do this is the sleep question. I don't know. Make it a list. Here's another trick. If you're going to do a list parameter, just do your values as integers or as numbers, and then you can display by whatever you want, right? So this one is going to be display by wake up well rested. This one is going to be let's do trouble falling asleep. This is trouble staying asleep. And this one is take medicine for sleep. So we've created a parameter for that. We need to create a calculated field to bring that parameter in. So that's going to be our sleep dim for dimension. And that's going to just be a case sleep question parameter. When 1, then wake up well rested. When 2, then falling asleep. When 3, then staying asleep. When 4, then take medicine for sleep. End. Right? Now all we have to do is right click on wake up well rested, replace references with our sleep dimension. Just like that. And then now you can see it everywhere. It's flipped. Now we can show this parameter. And now we can flip between. So now you can start to see. So you have 4 or less, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. You can see most people are having trouble falling asleep. How often do you... Oh, no. Most people never have trouble falling asleep. So that's kind of interesting. Regardless of the number of hours you sleep, unless you see here, like, so that might be a nice little, maybe you could add a nice reference line at 50%. Just to kind of help draw your eye across what is the majority, right? But here you're saying if you have, what's interesting is that when you have, if you sleep, if you sleep 4 or less hours a day, you have a harder time falling asleep every day. And that's how I'm interpreting that, right? How about staying asleep? What does that look like? Pretty much the same. Falling asleep and staying asleep are pretty much the same. That's pretty interesting. And then how many people take medicine for sleep? Not many, right? A lot of people never take medicine for sleep, but of those that do, so we could hide that, right? So of those that do, again, if you sleep 6, 7, or 8 hours a night, you're taking medicine for sleep some days. Right? So that's pretty interesting. So let's unhide that. There we go. So we're back to normal here. So anyway, pretty cool sleep study stuff. And that's really all there is to it. So again, because this is a table calculation, because it's a running sum table calculation, you'll always end up with essentially what is the total number of respondents broken up at that. So this is kind of what I like to call like the x-axis is a variable width histogram. And then we have a percent of total. So that's what a Marimekko is at its very core, is a percent of total over variable width histogram. So there you go. So I think that pretty much does that. That does that challenge. So thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks to all those who came to the session. Thanks to everyone who tuned in today. My name is Sean Miller, Hipster Viz Ninja. Like that sign says, we are all data people. Go forth and viz.